Peace and welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation and tuning in this afternoon, folks. We got a lot to talk about. Let's continue our conversation and coverage around what's happening with the LA City Council. And now that Nuri Martinez, the former city council president, has decided to step down, and we're seeing Ron Herrera, who was a part of the labor organization, the labor community, he's decided to resign. We're asking the question, well, what's the implications of all of this? We're going to be checking in with Professor Hernandez from Fordham University to talk to us about how do Black folks and Latino folks get through the bias to start building a coalition of unity. We'll have that conversation. Also, let's talk about the midterm elections. They are about 4 weeks away. We're a little less than 30 days away. What should we expect? A lot that is happening. Big conversations on the table about that. And then later, let's talk about, are we going back to an old standard of beauty as Black women are going back to using relaxers? I'm so happy that I got my culture crew member, Iman Heath, who is a stylist and a hair care specialist, to talk to us about this growing phenomenon. And then later, would you go to a college class about feminism and Nicki Minaj? We will have to see. I'll break down the details. So stay with you. All of that is happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very, very excited about the conversation that we're going to have today as we check in and talk to Professor Tanya Kateri Hernandez, who is the professor of law at Fordham University. She's also author of the book, Racial Innocence, Unmasking Latino Anti-Black Bias. And we want to talk to her in light of what we're seeing with the LA City Council situation. As the former city council president, Nuri Martinez, has resigned, Ron Herrera has announced yesterday evening that he was walking away from his work as a labor organizer. And there are still calls, and I even put it out there, still calls for others. Gil Cedillo he made the apology, but he has not made any announcement about resigning, as he was a part of that conversation, as well as Councilman Kevin De Leon, another councilman who used racial slurs and was laughing and doing basically the unethical work of disenfranchising or planning or conspiring to disenfranchise Black communities for their gains. So we're going to jump right in. As also we're joined by our culture crew member, Iman Heath, who is an activist, who is an entrepreneur, to have this conversation. And of course, we invite you to be a part of the discussion as well. Make sure you post your comments in our YouTube and our Facebook page as we talk, and we'll make sure that we bring up as many of your ideas and your thoughts to the discussion as well. All right, I want to welcome Professor Tanya Kateri Hernandez to the discussion because I think this is very, very important that we do have this discussion. Professor Hernandez, thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule to just be with us this afternoon. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Professor Hernandez, when we look at what's happening, right, and we don't have to, we talked about it yesterday. We know that the audio is out there. We know that there have been a number of apology statements out here. Here's my concern as a new resident, as a new Black Angelino. For me, my concern is looking at where the city currently is. We're 4 weeks out from a major mayoral election. The political rancor that we see, not just locally, but across the country, is already partisan, highly divided, especially along racial lines. What do we make of this? I mean, how does a major city, a very diverse city like Los Angeles, kind of start the process of moving forward? And especially, how does Black people, we only make up about 8% of the population here in the city of Los Angeles. How do we gain some political power in this moment?
Well, I mean, I think one of the very first things that has to be acknowledged is that we do not have an actual conversation in place that predates this incident. What I mean by that is we do not have in Los Angeles or nationally a conversation about the ways in which Latinos have a culturally embedded racial set of attitudes, just like any culture does, and
Mhm.
that the Latino set of racial attitudes includes anti-Blackness. This is not just a one-off. This is not just a Nuri Martinez or the others that are part of the LA City Council. This is about a bigger picture, right? So as far as a multiracial democracy, a multiracial civic participation is concerned, we need to be attentive to the ways in which anti-Blackness is not just simply a U.S. English speaking white American dynamic, right? That there are many other communities of color
Mhm.
that are complicit in anti-Blackness. And this has to be sort of part of the conversation that we're having as a nation about racial reckoning. Well, racial reckoning also needs to include the ways in which many other communities sustain and are part of anti-Blackness as well.
So we're seeing one of the things that I was reading, Professor, is that, this thing kind of has so many implications, right? Because it's coming from a major political figure, major power broker in the city. We're seeing it is coming from from members of the Democratic Party. It speaks to it adds the fuel to the fire that I think a lot of Black folks have against Latinos, right? And against members of the brown community who already feel like, you know what, Latinos are getting a leg up over Black folks. When we're seeing that even in the country, there's a growing community, a growing population of Latinos that outnumber Black folks. So how do we get from Black folks? Now we already been dealing with racism from white people. Now we got to deal with this level of racism. And I'm wondering, how do you empower? How do you empower us? How did the next generation of Black thinkers and thought leaders get empowered from something like this?
Well, I mean, I think the important thing to keep in mind is that this is not new. I mean, it hasn't been acknowledged, but it's certainly not a new phenomena that
Yeah.
many more people other than white, sort of English-speaking Anglos are part of anti-Blackness and the anti-Blackness that Black folks have had to contend with in the United States and elsewhere. One thing that I think is sort of important from a political position is that part of this dynamic is of thinking of Latinos as sort of this one homogeneous pan-ethnic group in which there's no racial diversity. Within Latino communities, there are Afro-Latinos, there are Asian Latinos, just as there is racial differentiation of
Mm.
people within the US, within Latin America, we have race. We also have racism, but we have race. And so I think, moving forward, there needs to be a greater sort of, dare I say, intersectional perspective about how we think through what are, real moments of cleavage, right? That the idea that just because there are groups who are all experiencing some form of discrimination, that makes them all immediate allies. Well,
Yeah.
that's misplaced, right? And Black folks have always been much more sophisticated about this, and so it's more about trying to make sure that our leaders are attentive to this as well. Are all Latinos suffering with anti-Blackness? No, just like all North American English speakers are not all suffering with racism. But is it important to call out how anti-Blackness is systemically infused into our ways of thinking so that it's
Yeah.
also part of Latino frames of thinking, even when they become public officials? Well, yes, that's important to keep in mind. And so as far as political organizing, these are the nuanced facets, I think, that need to be part of the way in which we think through empowerment.
And whose responsibility is it, Professor? I mean, because
Mm.
I feel like Black folks, when we get into moments like this, right, there is an expectation. I put it on my Twitter. I just said, "Oh, everyone else can be offended except Black people." Oh, okay. it's like we get the brunt of it, right? We get the short end of the stick when in a social, when you look at socially where we stand, right? In our struggle, we can get offended. But then when it comes to, well, okay, you say you sorry, a statement don't mean a damn thing to me. So that means that you, if like Nuri Martinez said in her statement, I'm going to work to try to, restore the trust and all of this other stuff. And it's like, okay, are you going to do it? Are you really going to do it? Is the Latino community going to do it? Like, who is going to do it? Because you can't expect Black folks to try to extend an olive branch to a group of to a person or group of people who don't give a damn about them.
Well, here's where I think some of the nuance has to come in as we think of like whose responsibility is it and what have you. Right?
Okay.
Too often, I think the when issues of Latino anti-Blackness arise, it gets situated as being just about like Latino versus African American.
Right.
When in point of fact, right, Latino anti-Blackness, unfortunately, is much bigger than African Americans, right? Meaning Afro-Latinos, Black people in Latin America, right, have been taking the heat, right, from Latin American, white identified, white presenting Latin Americans and those in the Caribbean, right? And the anti-Blackness of Latinos, and I trace all this in my book, Racial Innocence, targets not just Afro-Latinos, African Americans, it also targets Africans, people from the West Indies, right? Meaning Blackness in of itself. So I just like to be very clear, like, while of course it's important to attend to, issues of bias and discrimination against African Americans, it's bigger, right, than African Americans.
So there has to be, it sounds like there has to be a whole like reprogramming of that has to happen, whether it's in the Latino community, the Black community. There just has to be a whole reprogramming.
Well, I mean, what I would call it is like there has to be a greater sense of racial literacy, like meaning,
okay,
just as Latinos have work they need to do, and there are people in the Latino community, myself and others, right, who are attending to these things. We're smaller in number, right, but we're trying.
Right.
But and our broader conversations about anti-Blackness need to incorporate this notion of it is global, right, in its reach. And so, of course, it reaches many more communities within the United States as well, right? I mean, that's a framing that is meant to be much more, how should I put this, to get at the root, right, of what's going on. Can I point out one additional thing for you?
Sure, absolutely.
Right, because I think folks, of course, are rightfully focused on the commentary about animal equating with people of African descent. The monkey comments, right? That seems the most overt, and that's the stuff that people can immediately recognize within a U.S. context. The other thing that I want to point out, right, and this is where the Afro-Latino figure is better understood, is that she also made a lot of comments about people from Oaxaca.
Right.
Segment, right?
I was going to get to yeah.
Oh, you want to get to that? Sorry, I anticipated.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, yes, and that's the other part of the conversation. And I'm so happy you brought that up, Professor. Yes, ma'am.
Well, some people perceive that as about being just about anti-indigeneity, but what is not really fully comprehended, because we have a U.S. frame and our literacy about racism is sort of limited often, right, just to a U.S. perspective, despite the fact that 90% of the African slave trade was brought to Latin America and the wider Caribbean. I mean, think about that, 90%. Whereas what is understood to be the United States and North America is just about 3.5% of the African slave trade. So, let those numbers sink in for a little bit. You can think about the significance, right, of the legacy of slavery and the aftermath of the regulation of people of African descent in order to maintain racial hierarchy and supremacy, white supremacy within Latin America and the Caribbean. Okay. Back to Oaxaca. So when these comments are made by Nuri and the others are sort of like endorsing it, right? She is talking about the ugliness of people from Oaxaca, how she doesn't understand what village they come from, like who are these people? I mean, I don't need to repeat all that stuff, but I say all that to say this. In Mexico itself, Oaxaca is a racialized space. It is understood as not just only the place where there are people of indigenous ancestry, it's also understood as a place where there are people who are identifiably Black, right? Blackity black, right? Meaning anyone, like an African American, would walk by them and would think to speak to them in English, thinking they too were African American, but in point of fact, they're Afro-Mexican, right? So Oaxaca is this space in which you can sort of talk about Blacks without having to say Black, because you say Oaxaca. If you see that there's a proxy going on. And so when that pejorative language is being used about people from Oaxaca, that is about not African Americans, but another form of anti-Blackness, right? That is part of Latin American racial paradigms.
I want to bring in culture crew member Iman Heath. Iman, I know you got some questions. I want to give you a chance to talk to Professor Hernandez out of Fordham University. Again, folks, Professor Tanya Hernandez is joining us just for a few moments today. She's the author of the book, Racial Intolerance, Unmasking Latino Anti-Black Bias. There's the book right there, folks, that she put out there. She is an Afro-Latina. So she is right there to give us some understanding of both communities, of both cultures. And hopefully, she and others in the space that she's working in, bridging the gap, getting past the bias and the barriers, but bridging the gap. And here's my thinking very quickly, then I go to Iman. I feel like this. I'm going to put this out there. When Black and brown fight, only white supremacy wins. That's where I'm at right now. When we fight, white supremacy wins. All right, Iman, talk to me. What's your question and your take on this?
So, Professor, my question is, although we all come from a different cultural background, some of us may not even know where we originate from. Granted, we do know this. But what do you think is the main reason why Afro-Latinos and then African Americans and those of other Latin descents, what causes the divide? Because like you said, in some areas you can look and they may look like they're Black just like me, but it's that extra fact that they're not actually African American that separates them. But it's like, of course there's a difference. Of course, heritage and culture is a difference. But why do you think there's such a great divide when we're essentially the same people? The only thing that separates us is really our culture. To be honest, our language and the food we eat and how we celebrate certain holidays and what we don't celebrate. Like, what do you think causes the biggest divide between Black and brown?
Right. Well, here I would add on an extra layer, right? And the extra layer is this, that what we think of as the Black-brown divide is a bit of an overstatement in the following respect, right? Within Latin America, there are huge and growing numbers of social justice movements of Afro-Latin Americans, right? In fact, when the United Nations organized the World Conference Against Racism held in South Africa in 2001, one of the largest contingents of people who were present to talk about racism and the need for attending to the anti-Blackness in the world were Afro-Latin Americans. Right? Brazil sent out a huge contingency, but so did many other countries within Latin America. So, I just want to put out the layers for us, right? That to sort of talk about all Latinos or all Latin Americans misses the role of white supremacy within Latin America and within Latino communities. Meaning, as the founder, Miriam Jimenez Roman, of the Afro-Latino Forum and the area of studies called Afro-Latino Studies, she said, some browns, you put that in quotes, some browns are browner than other browns, right? Meaning there's a way in which Blackness is salient, right? And so when we look at what people in the media call it the Black-brown divide, that's an overstatement because that's sort of collapsing all the ways in which some browns are browner than other browns within Latino communities. And of course, there's also the way in which within Latino communities, some folks are more woke than others, right?
Yeah.
Just as there are in any community, right?
Right.
So I just want to put that out there first. Then to be much more responsive to your media question, like how then of those who are part of the anti-Blackness project, right? Within Latino communities. Why? Because we come from backgrounds that are already, before you even factor in U.S. created systems of white supremacy, we have our own systems of white supremacy and hierarchy in Latin America and the Caribbean. Right? And so you fuse those two things together, right? And it's pretty entrenched. Right? The other layer that I think really has to be really recognized is that as victims of discrimination ourselves, just talking about Latinos more broadly, right? There's this notion of, well, we can't be those who are viewed as the aggressors, as being in any respect agents of discrimination, because we ourselves are victims of discrimination, which of course is a complete myth. You can both be a victim and you can also be an agitator and an aggressor. Both, these two things can coexist, and unfortunately they often do. But that notion combined with the notion, well, Latinos, this mythology, we don't come in black and brown or white. We're all racially mixed. We all just one happy family. And so we don't know what racism is. We are, as I say in the book, racially innocent, because we don't know from racism. That's a U.S. thing. And our stuff in Latin America and the Caribbean, well, that's sort of like a benign sort of prejudicial attitude that's going to evaporate when the old people pass on, but it's not really part of our systems, which of course is a complete myth. But that mythology creates a kind of psychological defense against recognizing that when you call a black child a monkey, that you are part of anti-Blackness.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We got a couple of moments left with you, Professor. So we've been I'm very appreciative. I just want to get a couple of comments from our online culture crew who are so this conversation has taken on a life of its own on our YouTube and our Facebook chat. So I'm really excited about that. Janae, you checked in and say, look, see, this is why you teach, do unto others as you would yourself. So let's not lessen what we humans know. The sorries are just that. Sorry. There it is. Janae, I feel you. Corinna, you checked in and said, technically, I can be considered Latino because my black mother is from Belize in Central America. Yep, there it is. More, you checked in and said, we show the Latinos that we are the ones who are responsible for the Latinos' existence. That's a big one. That's a big one. Professor, can you speak to that for a couple of seconds?
Well, I guess I'm not entirely clear what is meant by the phrase, unless this is part of, the acknowledgement that the African American civil rights movement is responsible for any sense of equality and freedom that any of us have in the United States, right? That sense of all of us, right, are part of needing to acknowledge gratitude and be in support of African-American civil rights movements, because any kind of freedoms that exist within this country are really because of the long haul of civil rights movements by African-Americans or people of African descent. Now that
Absolutely.
Latinos have been part of some of these movements as well, should also be acknowledged. But I understand that, at least as I read the comment, that's sort of how I understand it.
Absolutely. Karen, you checked in. Karen Connor, you said black, and Karen, you are another black Angelino. You said black and Latino leaders have to unify to fight this racism battle together. Both cultures are marginalized and should work together in the struggle. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Conscious Thoughts, you checked in and said the energies that we expend quarreling with each other erode our effectiveness and progress. The devils are rejoicing. Acknowledge, yes, but also remedy and resolve for the greater good. I love that thought. Thank you, Conscious Thought. Professor, in like 30 seconds we have left with you, what's the next step here? Because now everybody's asking, what's next for Black Los Angeles, Indigenous Los Angeles, Latino Los Angeles? What do we take from this? I mean, this is an ongoing story, but, what should be the next step at this point? Especially since Black LA Council people, they come out and said, they condemn this and all of that stuff. That's all well and good. But what should be tangible the next step?
Well, I mean, I think one of the great resources that exists within Los Angeles is that you have Afro-Latinos who are right there on the ground. I met with a number of them about a month ago when I did a book event at the No Name Book Club in Crenshaw. I mean, there's some vibrant, serious sisters and brothers who are doing this work. And they should be brought in as part of the conversation because they know for a long time what it is to take heat, again, from Latino anti-Blackness. And can be part of the conversation about moving forward, right? The creating the racial literacy about global anti-Blackness, and also about what it really means to be in solidarity, right? To really be in solidarity is to recognize that you too have skin in the game, right? Meaning that, again, Latinos also come in Black, right? And that if we care about even just Latino unity and survival, that has to be survival for all of us, not just sort of a pigmentocracy where the ones on a creamy layer on the top, get to be the Latinos who survive and have liberation. If you only care about Latinos, then you have to care about all Latinos. And caring about all Latinos means you have to care about Blackness.
That's all I'm gonna say there, Professor. Professor Tanya Kateri Hernandez, who is the professor of law at Fordham University in New York City. She's also the author of the book Racial Innocence: Unmasking Latino Anti-Black Bias and the Struggle for Equality. Folks, take a look at that. And Professor, we certainly appreciate you. We would love to bring you back on at another time to continue this conversation. But thank you for your insight this afternoon.
It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a conversation about the national midterms elections. We're going to check in with one candidate who's up against some challenges as she's trying to do the great work of represent the state of Florida. Stay with us for that conversation. That's happening next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, now shifting from California to Florida, we wanted to have a conversation about the national midterm elections as we're a little bit less than 30 days from what many people have said is one of the most pivotal midterms in this country's history. Can you believe that, folks? And in 2022, who knew that this might be an election that will change the game? And I know, again, we say that all the time, but the reality is this may be that election. So we wanted to have a conversation to talk about a few of the ongoing dynamics of this, of what we are up against, and more importantly, why it's important for us to go out and vote. Now, look, I can say a lot of different things about this, folks, but one thing is for certain. I'm not against voting. And so I hope that many of you who might have different views, you vote your interest, even if you don't see it. And here's the thing, vote locally. I'm a huge advocate of that. If you want to take a part of the national election, by all means do. But we do have to have some skin in the game in that capacity. We have to have some skin in the game in that capacity. Until we figure out a different alternative system, let's continue to push this thing forward. All right, so I'm joined by a sister who is doing the part of stepping up and has decided to put her full self into the process, as she is running for the Congressional District and for the Florida 26th Congressional District. She's an educator, she's a wife, she's a mother of 2 boys. We're happy to have her joining us today, Mrs. Christine Olivo, to talk to us a little bit about what's happening in Florida and around the country, as this country is gearing up for a major midterm election. Christine, thank you so much for joining us here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I am very excited.
I'm glad. First and foremost, you are a first-generation Haitian American. You were born and raised in Miami, Florida. You qualified as the candidate for the Florida's 26th Congressional District on June 14th, and now the official Democratic Party nominee. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I mean, that means a lot when you say it out loud, but does that mean a lot on paper? I don't know. But yes.
No, hey, come on, sis. Come on, Christine. Hey. Well, the hell with the paper. That's the reality.
That is the reality, right? So it is the reality, but you would think that, okay, you are in this race. You are the only Democrat in this race, and you would think, okay, you're going to get all the support you can. I'm hearing, your previous segment about racism and discrimination, and mind you, I lived in LA for 7 years, so I know all too well about that, and I just feel like we're doing it to ourselves even here, right? You have a Black woman running for Congress, right? I do not feel that we're getting our campaigns getting the support that we need. But yes, we are the Democratic nominee, so it's good on paper.
It's good on paper. All right, very quickly, what area of Florida does that cover, the 26th Congressional District?
It covers Wynwood, Overtown, Midtown, Hialeah, Allapattah, Doral, Miami Lakes, Miami Springs. It goes all the way to Naples, Immokalee. I have to give a shout out to Immokalee, which is a predominantly migrant town, predominantly Haitian immigrants, Mexican immigrants, Venezuelan immigrants. We have people from everywhere, but it is a predominantly minority little town, and they don't get enough love. So I just want to give a shout out. It is a very long district.
That's awesome. I want to also bring in Iman Keith, who is our culture crew member, joining us today as we have this conversation. First and foremost, Christine, when we look at we talk about Florida a lot here on the Black Star Network. And I'm not saying that because it's for any good reasons. It's unfortunate Florida is going through some major change. First, before we even talk about the politics of how has things been considering the aftermath of Hurricane Ian? Talk to us a little bit about where the state is, where the district that you're running for, where our people are in that part of the state.
So it's rough. And I want to first say that I am a little bit upset at our president for giving a shout out to Ron DeSantis and saying that he's doing a good job. He is not. Wow. I was on the ground yesterday in Fort Myers, in an area called Linda Loma, an area that is predominantly Black and brown communities. And they have been ignored. They are literally, their entire life is on the street. They're sleeping in tents in front of their houses. The streets smell like sewage. The kids are running and playing in the sewage. It is terrible. Down the street, we have Harlem Heights, Anthony Park. We have all of these predominantly Black and brown communities that are not getting the attention that they deserve. And a lot of these communities are minorities or immigrants. They're afraid to even get help, to call for help, because they don't know what's going to happen with their status. And they don't have translators to help them with their FEMA applications.
Damn.
So, I mean, we've got a serious crisis here. And there's an entire community that they haven't even touched yet. They don't even know if people are still alive in there. Everything, a boat capsized in the community. It's a trailer home community. They can't get in. They don't know what is going on. So I just want to say that we have a crisis. And if we don't handle it right now, we're going to see an aftermath the size of Katrina.
Oh my God. And that is far different from what we're hearing. I mean, we understand, I've seen the images of the devastation. I'm sure Iman have seen it. We're seeing the videos, we know. And if nothing has come from Hurricane Katrina, it's the fact that we often see Black folks get rescued last.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to these natural disasters. And so I'm happy to hear that, you know, if you're putting this out there, and this is a national space, right? National platform, to let folks know, like, Black folks ain't doing well in Florida right now in certain parts of the state because of this natural disaster. What do you want to see as a person that's not just running for office, but as a resident, as a Black woman that's a part of the community? What kind of help do our people need right now?
Right now, our people need FEMA to show up. At this point, FEMA has set up different offices or different areas for you to go to get help, or you can go online and get help. If I don't have internet, if my car is buried under my house, if I do not have any means of communication or transportation, how can I get to you? We need people to show up, meet people where they are at, and understand that they don't have a way to get to you. They don't have a way to get the help or call for help. If we don't go into these communities, there's no way for them to communicate with us. And I mean that sincerely. We were in a community in Naples. Most people think, oh, Naples is just wealthy snowbirds, that everybody's got all this money. There is a minority group in Naples, and they live in Whistler's Cove, right? This community had no power. Their children were running around in diapers because they were getting heat rashes. One gentleman he hadn't had oxygen in days because he didn't have power. One woman, her insulin done because she couldn't refrigerate it. I went into that community. I brought generators. I brought food along with Aletha Shapiro, and the American Red Cross showed up on the last day, and Cindy Banyai, who's also running for Congress in District 19. The three of us, we got together and we brought the community what they needed. All we need is simple. We need you to show up, period.
What is the state saying? What's the governor saying about these are areas that haven't been rescued or is not being looked at right now?
He's not saying anything.
He's not saying that.
He has an election coming up. His focus is that everybody's doing the work on the ground. We have deployed FEMA. Everybody's getting the help that they need. No one is talking about the Black and brown communities that are being neglected and ignored. That's not happening. And the thing is that they don't have a platform or a voice to speak out. It's on us to do that. There is another woman running for Commissioner of Agriculture, Naomi Blumer. She actually stopped campaigning to go and tour these areas. She went into Orlando. People don't even realize Orlando was flooded. Some people are just getting their power back now. What is it? Is it Bethune? One of the historically Black colleges, they don't even have school anymore. They were flooded to the point of they had to cancel school until they can figure out how to get back up and running. What I'm saying right now is we have a crisis, and more politicians are concerned with their election, and they are not doing the work.
Iman, are you surprised to hear this from Christine?
I'm not surprised, but it's crazy that nobody, not even on social media, you know, that's usually where everyone has stuff to say. Nobody's bringing attention to the fact that something hasn't been corrected in Florida from what it looks like on the opposite end of not, you know, who those who don't live there, who aren't there. It looks like, okay, Hurricane Ian came, did whatever, but it wasn't as bad as how you're putting it right now. It doesn't sound from what media is putting out there that anyone needs a significant amount of help. For you to say that there are still people in areas, especially minorities, who still haven't even been, no one has come to see if people are even alive in that area. I'm not surprised because, again, capitalism. If when it comes to minorities, and especially when it comes to immigrants as well, and I'm sure you know DeSantis does not give a care about an immigrant from his most recent stunt, sending immigrants away, but it's just not being put out there. Like, people, I'm gonna say most of us had no clue that much type of damage was done in Florida.
No, not at all. Look, and I try to keep my head on a swivel, Christine. I try to keep to stay on top of these things. But to hear what you're saying, it sounds like, I mean, we were told, and I'm sure this number has certainly gone up, but the death toll from the hurricane was a little bit over 100. But it sounds like, and it might be way higher, considering if they're not even.
It's going to be
looking at the situation.
You're talking about a state that hid the COVID, the amount of deaths from COVID. Okay. This is the state that you're talking about. So you think that they're going to really release how many people have died from this hurricane? I'm not telling you anything that I heard. I am telling you what I have witnessed, what I saw yesterday, the neighborhood that I was literally in yesterday. These people cannot even live in their homes. How come they have not been relocated to somewhere that they can stay until we figure out a better housing situation for them? Their children are going to get sick. People are probably going to get sick or die from not getting proper care. That is the situation that we're in right now. I'm not exaggerating. I wish I was exaggerating, because it hurts my heart to see Black and brown communities being once again tossed aside as if we don't contribute to our society. Those $12 million that Ron DeSantis used to pull a political stunt and send these migrants to Martha's Vineyard, he could have used that money right now to house these communities.
So this right here, here's the concern that I have. Florida is, as you know, Christine, Florida is one of the most hotly contested states for a lot of reasons in this midterm election, right? The hurricane happened. Now you're 4 weeks out. You gotta get the state to a position or to a place where people can have access to go to the polls. And that even though this hurricane is a natural disaster, it has affected every person in the state, that the enemies of our rise are going to use that as a scapegoat, as a form of voter suppression, because they're going to say, well, we can't get to the people. The debris from the hurricane stopped us from, open up poll sites in these neighborhoods or in these communities. Is that a concern that you and other folks have?
It's a major concern, because half of my district is in an affected area, and then half of Cindy's district is also an affected area. And both districts the incumbent is Republican, right? So this is the issue that we have. People don't even have mailboxes anymore. They're gone. Where are you going to put their vote by mail ballot? How are you going to deliver it? They don't have houses anymore. Where are you going to go? Some people are now deceased. These are all things, and today is the last day to register to vote. Today is the very last day.
Wait a minute, hold on, Christine, hold on. Right. So there wasn't any type of emergency policy put in place. Like, was today originally scheduled to be the last day anyway, regardless of the hurricane? Okay, yes. So there was no emergency policy put in place as a result of Hurricane Ian to say, okay, let's extend the voting, because this is all on the state level. I know this. This is done on the state. This has nothing to do with federal government. This could be determined and decided upon by state government of Florida to say, as a result of the hurricane, as a result of the destruction done, we're going to extend the voting. So you mean to tell me people got to worry about casting a ballot while they try to figure out where they live?
Exactly.
Hold on, to even add to that, Farajii, but when you paint that picture, I'll go ahead and say it. Like you said, this could be a form of a way to oppress minorities, blacks and browns, from voting for another year yet again. It doesn't sound far-fetched at all. I'm not going to say, it would be support just because, minorities were going to vote for who looks familiar with us. However, the Democratic Party, especially in Florida, are majority African-American people. And the areas that are affected the most, from what you're saying, who are still affected, are from African-American and brown and blacks communities. So I'm not surprised. But that sounds crazy for no type of room to alleviate the situation. Like this sounds like I'm not saying a setup, because no one can create a hurricane. I'm not saying that, but
no. But let's call it what it is, Iman. Let's call it what it is. It's exploitation. You exploited this natural disaster. And hell, you know what I'm saying? The way the creator, the way that God is, he might create another situation on voting day in November. We don't know. But that's the satanic part of it.
That's crazy.
That you exploit this situation so that way you can win. Not thinking about the people, not thinking about, for the governor and for the state of Florida, the state legislators, to not say, all right, we got to do something special because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So of course, this is like,
the media is not, when I say, for you to say this to be able to register to vote on top of certain areas not getting help, it doesn't look like that on the outside at all.
Of course not, because who controls the media? Who controls the media? Do you think that it's the small black and brown communities that control the media? Absolutely not. Right now, Ron DeSantis is probably at a game, a football game, baseball game. And the other day, they're showing photographs. No, this is not a concern to them, and they technically own the media right now.
So let me ask you also, Christine, when we talk about, we've been talking about this hurricane, which is, again, another layer that our people are going to have to contend with during this election season. And take a look at some of these images, folks. What neighborhood are we looking at here right now? Let me just get
that is Linda Loma.
Okay.
That is where literally I drove there yesterday, and everybody's stuff is just out there. You just want to cry because you see that this is their lives. Their lives are out there. And you see doll houses, you see couches, bedroom sets, everything is gone. Now, what you have to remember is these people probably were renting. They don't own their place, or even if they own their place, they probably don't have insurance. How are they going to replace all of this in the middle of inflation? And they're probably out of work because the Publix across the street, which is where we were handing out goods and supplies, that's closed. If everything in the area is closed, and most of the people, they don't have work right now.
What's the demographics?
I'm not sure what their savings looks like, but I'm pretty sure they are struggling.
I'm sure. And what's the demographics for Linda Loma, Christine? Is it predominantly black, white, Latino? What's the demographic?
It's a mix between black and Latino, predominantly Latino, a lot of migrants. English is not their first language. So it's, but it is black and brown community.
So what's being done? From your vantage point, you're a candidate, you're the Democratic Party nominee for your congressional district. What is what is being done? What can be done at this point to at least get people And part of me, I'm a little bit in an internal dilemma, Iman and Christine, because it's like I want people to go out and vote, but can you tell people to vote when they don't know what their living situation is going to look like? You know what I mean? Like I don't want to sound
it's a tough
harsh or
balance.
insensitive. Like, no, go out and vote in the most important midterm of our history, but then you don't have a house, man. Like, you don't have a place to live. Your children can't lay their head in a decent place at night.
Right.
How do you work through that? What's the Democratic Party, what folks are doing right now to try to help to alleviate that burden?
So right now, most of the candidates, like yesterday, I was with Charlie Chris and Carla Hernandez, and like I said, Cindy Banyai and Naomi Blamir, and all of us, we were out there. We were just meeting their needs, right? And as we sit down and meet with the people and we say, okay, you need diapers, here's water, here's some food. Do you need help with your application? We just offer the help. Now, we understand that we all need to campaign at the same time. It's very difficult, and we try not to be insensitive, but we let people know, say, listen, the best way that I can help you is if I get into this office. I can do so much more good. Right now, I'm giving you the resources that I have from my own two hands. But once I'm able to get into office, I can do so much more. Please do not forget us on November 8th. And that is how we just have to come from a sincere, heartfelt perspective. Last week, we stopped texting, don't forget to vote. We started texting, are you okay? If they said that they were okay, then we said, okay, well, please do not forget to vote. If you need help with anything, let us know. And then they said, thank you. And they said, by the way, where can I go to claim this on my property insurance? And we sent them links and help. So just have conversations. We are having conversations with the people. We're being sincere, and we're not neglecting the fact that we want to represent them in the offices that we're running for.
Absolutely. Let me just take a couple of comments before we take our next pause here. And folks are just heartbroken, to say the least, Christine, from your report of what we're not seeing. Davey Floater, you checked in. Davey, you said, we are drowning in capitalism. This is heartbreaking. Drowning. Yes, and yes, it is. Willie, you checked in. My God, thank you, Davey, for hearing from you. I appreciate that. Willie, you checked in as well. You said it's racism that comes about when natural disasters happen is unforgivable. We must get better people in place here in Florida. Absolutely. Willie, sounds like you in Florida, bro. Just let me know what area you in and what your situation is looking like, what your neighborhood is looking like, and the situation of voting, getting people out to vote. Thank you, Willie. Cheryl, you checked in and said, this is horrible, and we need to have a strategy at this point. Where is leadership? We must become community-minded. Facts. Sophia, you checked in. I can't feel much sympathy for a state that voted for DeSantis and Rubio in the first place, and that other weak representative. I feel you, Sophia, but wherever Black people are, I gotta feel something.
Yeah,
I gotta feel something.
The lack of help isn't their fault at all. So
yeah. And see, and I want to go back to this because I know, we got a lot of our watchers, supporters from Florida, especially, who watch this show, who watch Roland's show. I want us to be very clear about what's on the ballot. I know people say Roe v. Wade. I know people have said, with MAGA Republicans, and there's going to be a different conversation we got to have about the number of election deniers that are actually running in this year's midterm election, which is actually disturbing. So I know what's at stake, but when we're talking about just simple humanity, getting down to the humanity of an individual to be able to say, you know what, let's try to help people. This is simple humanity, Iman and Christine. This is just simple humanity. A major storm, which some would say is one of the largest and most deadliest or disastrous storms in Florida's history. And it goes on where you still have communities that are just haven't even been reached yet. People might have been lying there for weeks, folks. Can you imagine? For days, rather. Can you imagine that? Can y'all really imagine that? And I'm saying to folks down in Florida, this is what's on the ballot. This is really what's on the ballot. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got many tools in the toolbox, but let's use this arsenal. Just go out and try to vote if you can, especially if you can make it through. This is what's on the ballot. I'm heartbroken, Christine. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little bit like speechless. I'm heartbroken, and part of me is like, you know, I'm so sick and tired of this shit. I'm serious. I'm just so sick and tired of this, man. Like it's just. You know, it's like I said, it gets to a place where it becomes demonic and satanic.
It's
and people are like, you know what I'm saying, Iman? Like people act like, oh no, you can't use that word. No, this is what it is. It's satanic. Yeah. Because you want to exploit people, you want to kick people while they're down, you want to lie to people, deceive people, and all in the name of quote unquote representing us, leading us.
That doesn't go hand in hand. And I hope this shows those who may not have been affected that much during the hurricane. Hopefully those voters can see, and hopefully that'll help them maybe change their mind or at least understand that I'm voting for the wrong person. Because number one, with politics, we already know integrity is always in question. That's number one. Put a check in a politician's face, depending who it is. They may go in whichever favor that the money is coming from. So hopefully this will show other voters in Florida who may not have been as affected and can go vote that you shouldn't vote for DeSantis. That shouldn't be. We're not putting in any votes for his campaign because, as you can clearly see, he has told us or told the rest of the country that everything's fine or is not as bad. Well, actually, on the streets, it's horrible even still. So hopefully everybody pays attention to this.
Absolutely. Christine, we got about a few more moments with you very quickly. What is, and I know you're running for office, so that's one thing that, you know, you want people to know, look, if you put your faith in me, I can get some things done. But what other assurance can you give to us? Those even outside of your congressional district, what other assurance that something is going to be done by Black leaders? Are you a part of coalitions of Black leaders in Florida, in the 26th congressional district or a state group that can push some of these things forward, because something's got to give?
So I will say this is my second time running, and this experience has been even more shocking to me when I see that Black issues have been sort of pushed to the back and other issues have taken the forefront of not just the Democratic Party, but just for the elections in general. And I know that regardless of what happens on November 8th, on November 9th, I'm building my own coalition. Because what upsets me is that in 2022, why we as Black people, and from any diaspora, because I'm Haitian American, but you know, I walk down the street, what do you see? You see a Black woman, right? So Black people together, we have not built a united coalition that says, this is how we vote collectively. Right. You cannot force us. You cannot pay us. You cannot bribe us. You can't buy us any food or anything. This is how we are going to vote as a people, and that we hold our demands strong, that we have a contract collectively. If you want our vote, this is what we need, and you better deliver. And that is what we need. I am ready to form with many other organizations a united coalition, because the one thing that I see is that oftentimes people are discouraged and they don't vote, or they go to other parties and they think, oh, woe is me. You know, our government never did anything for us. We are the people. They work for us. We sit down and complain. When my boss doesn't like what I'm doing, I will get fired. So as a community, we have to remember that we are the ones that control this. We are the ones in charge. And we have to start operating as a community, as a Black and brown community, start operating together to get the results that we deserve.
I hear you right there, Christine. I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Thank you for your updates about what's going on in the state of Florida. Good luck with your campaign. And, you know, just know that we're going to hold you accountable for every word that you shared with us this afternoon, Christine.
I'm looking forward to that coalition. If they know,
I'm telling you, we're going to hold you accountable. Because you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I got to say it, Christine. For black leadership,
I dare you.
For black leadership in this country, the scrutiny is on. Because you know what I mean? No more, as what the book say, no more those who came before us have been robbers, liars, and thieves. We can't take that no more. We can't take no more hits. No losses in 2022. You know what I mean? No more losses. So I'm gonna hold you to that word. Christine, Olivo, thank you so much for your time. Again, good luck on your campaign as you run for Florida's 26th Congressional District. Folks, there's the information about her website. But make sure y'all continue to, if you feel like she's the candidate to support, then you can go to her website right there. Christine, thank you so much for being on The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's have a different conversation, a little bit more cultural, as we're seeing there's a growing trend of Black women who are saying no to natural hair and yes to relaxers. Is the standard of beauty changing? We'll have that conversation with Iman Heath and you, so stick around for that. Plus, later on, would you go to a college course where they're teaching about Nicki Minaj and feminism? I'm going to tell you what school that is happening at and get your answer on that as well. So stay with us. A lot to get to. Plus, I got something for you for Trends Post and Doing the Most. So stay tuned. A lot to get to in the next hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Man, the first hour was hot. Boy, oh boy, it's such relevant and necessary conversations that we had with Professor Hernandez to talk about Black and Brown relationships and how do we get Latino community can get out of the anti-Black bias, to have that conversation as it relates to the LA City Council dilemma. And then, of course, we just got off the line with Ms. Christine Olivo, who is a candidate running for Florida's 26th Congressional District, giving us a scathing and just a heartbreaking report about what's going on, what's actually happening on the ground in Florida as a result of Hurricane Ian and the politics around natural disasters. So, folks, if you missed those two conversations, you can definitely check it out in the replay and make sure that you stay up to date on what's going on. Also, make sure you show your continuing support for us here at Black Star Network. We are working and building towards becoming a 24-hour streaming service where you can get news and information and hear conversations that are relevant to you. Go to blackstarnetwork.com and show your support, financial support, share the content, and most importantly, let family and friends know that Black-owned media institution is here. We are live, we are present, we are there each and every day when things need to happen. And you can also continue to join us here, or you can hit me up on all of my social media platforms at The Real Farajii, on Instagram, Farajii, on Twitter, Farajii Muhammad, on Facebook. Always love to connect with people. I'm getting so many of your requests. Big shout out to those who are, see me on Twitter. Jawan, I see you, sis. Thank you so much. So many others are like retweeting the announcements of shows. And just as we having these conversations with folks about a variety of issues and cultural issues, that you're part of the conversation, that means a whole lot to me. And more importantly, it helps for us to continue to build what we have started here, which is building the community of the culture. I call y'all my culture crew, but we're really a community of folks that are willing to look at things differently, have different discussions, and most importantly, ask questions so that way we can get our people to think on a more critical and different space. So thank you for your support in that. All right, folks, we wanted to have a conversation on the cultural side to talk about a growing phenomenon that is happening right now among Black women. Now that we have seen years and years where Black women have felt like they needed to be liberated from white standards or European standards of beauty. And that has always started, not just from the clothes that we wear, the places that we live. It really has always started from the crown, a woman's crown, which is her hair. And folks, y'all know, for the sisters out there, I know your crown shall not be touched. Unless you got the hands of a person like Iman Heath, who is a hair care specialist and stylist. Let's bring Iman into this, folks, because she's the only one that can touch a Black woman's crown. I can't touch it. I can touch my daughter's hair. At some point, my daughter's gonna be like, "You better not, Daddy. Stop touching my hair. Stop touching my hair, Dad. Stop it. Stop it." She loves touching mine, but I can't touch hers. And I'm cool with that. But there is this growing thing, and I've been waiting to have this conversation with Iman to see what is going on with Black women. Look at your face. You're hilarious.
I'm ready to jump in. I'm ready.
What's going on with this situation around relaxers? All right, here's the thing. Let me show y'all what's the word. The return of the relaxer, while some Black women are embracing the chemical hair treatment after years of going natural. This is coming out of a story around this. Let me take a look at this, folks. Here's the latest about the relaxer as it comes back into style among Black women. This says that in this report that a relaxer, of course, a chemical treatment that permanently loosens or relaxes the hair, leaving straighter, less curly strands in its wake. There are various chemical formulations, including lye and no-lye versions, and their origins can be traced back to the early 1900s, though they became a staple in Black salons and hair households in the 1990s as a means of ease and assimilation. Now, along with this, choice and an informed perspective seem to be a major driving force in the reemergence of relaxers, as well as social media, of course, which has allowed women to find others on similar hair care journeys. The relaxers are back. Hashtag on TikTok has over 4 million views, and there is a shortage of content featuring Black women relaxing their hair, either at home or in a salon. There have also been changes in the way relaxers are formulated and handled. So in lieu of relaxers, many brands begin using less harsh ingredients in efforts to make relaxers safer for at-home and salon use. Beyond chemical reformations, many Black women are just happy to be in a space where they can do whatever they want with their hair without fear of ridicule from outside groups or even from other Black women. Extending grace and allowing Black women to show up as their most authentic self is becoming an increasingly celebrated idea in both natural and chemically treated hair circles. Is that what we're looking at right now, Iman? Is that the case?
So no one has come to me requesting or asking about a relaxer, and I can understand why they wouldn't come to me personally.
Wait a minute. First and foremost, I don't even know if I should even ask this question because I don't want you to Because this is your bed. But do you recommend? I mean, is that something that you're personally not willing to do as a stylist, as a hair care specialist, to use a relaxing Black woman's hair?
I would, if it were to be requested by me, I would definitely tell my client, I really want you to think on this, because once you get a relaxer, there's no going back, or it takes a very long time to go back. I can also completely understand why a Black woman would want a relaxer, because even with myself, having thicker or coilier or kinkier hair, it's wash day. Farajii, when I say I wish I could take my head off, let somebody deal with it, and I'd go do something else. It is a long process for a lot of us. Not everybody has that wash and go kind of curl. You can hand go outside. I definitely don't have a wash and go curl yet, and I've been perm free since 2015. So I was the kid who me perm every 6 weeks, then moved on to the olive oil perm sets as well. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I will say having a relaxed hair is way easier than dealing with your natural hair. But the benefits of staying natural is especially the growth that I've seen from others and from myself as well, because those harsh chemicals, and I'm sure they have adjusted and changed some things as far as what they put in those relaxing boxes. And I'm sure we've learned how to take care of our hair so our hair isn't breaking off and become brittle and dry. But if you're gonna do it. Just be healthy. Make sure it's done in a healthy way, and you keep up with the maintenance, because it does require more maintenance. But I understand both sides. And hold on, Farajii. Let's be clear to Black men. Stop with this rhetoric that Black women want to get their hair straighter so they can be more appealing and be closer to being white. That's not all for everybody. Let's be clear on that.
So this is not about the male gaze. This is not about trying to please a man. This is about a woman
or try to be more like a white woman. It has nothing to do with it at all. Wanting to have straighter hair. Some people like that look. Me personally, I like when my hair is straight, but I'm also working on growing with. I want a big Diana Ross afro. I mean, just big and just. That's my end goal. Give me about another 2 years. I'll be there, but let's just be clear, and I'm saying this for all Black women who may feel this way. Black men, stop saying we get our hair straightened to be more like a white woman. That's not true for all of us. Thank you.
Wow. No, you're welcome. No, because, and I know folks are checking in on our culture crew, online culture crew. They're like, why are we having a conversation about this? Folks, it's a cultural conversation.
No, really.
But do you see that? I mean, based upon your conversations with the women that you come across, are we seeing this kind of like trend? Like, what does this say to you? That the standard of beauty is what now? Because natural hair, the Black woman with natural hair was the standard of beauty for the past, I would say, past 10 years. I may be wrong in my number, but I'm just taking, just kind of keeping thinking this through. So for the past 10 years, we've seen this.
They kicked off the whole natural hair, and then India Arie, when she came in with her, I'm not my hair anthem, that kicked it up a notch as well. So
Solange did it, right?
Huh?
With the Solange, Solange was she,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what my question is, is it just about simple maintenance that's turning Black women to the point that's saying, okay, I'm kind of tired of the natural hair, let me go. Is it just simple maintenance, or is there something else? Is there a cultural, or is there some type of new influence? Like, we see a lot of hip hop artists, and I see hip hop artists using, they got the straightest of hair. It's like, damn, that joint's straight. You know what I mean? It's flowing and straight. But I'm wondering if that is even, does that play a role in how women are seeing themselves?
So I would definitely say it does vary from woman to woman, but in general, it is a variable that we have to throw in there. Like, maybe she feels more comfortable with herself or how she looks when her hair is straighter. But the association with having straight hair being with a white woman is the issue here. I will say I do think Black women We are pulling ourselves away from the beauty standard of America, and we're creating our own standard in our own community. Our standard is health. Have healthy hair, whether it's relaxed or whether it's natural. That's our standard, to have healthy hair. To help trying to look like the next person or trying to be more like this girl or that girl, that part doesn't matter. But it does vary. We do have some women who may feel like they're don't look as presentable, don't look as nice when their edges aren't laid down to perfection. I stopped perming my entire head in 2015, but I kept perming my edges, I want to say, until like 2016. So I had an insecurity about my edges looking coarse or curly or nappy, as we like to say. So it really varies. And I've been on both sides. But we're creating our own standard of beauty as far as when it comes to hair standards, and it's just to have healthy hair.
It's just having a healthy hair. I get it. And look, I'm a man. I'm growing my locks, but I understand that if you are a woman, I think I can at least empathize that if you are a woman that has been, dealing with various hairstyles, you've gone through all the type of changes and everything, it gets tired. Like you're trying to figure out, because of course our hair, and I say this as a people, not just as Black women, but our hair defines us.
It's definitely a statement. It's a statement piece about us and how we wear our hair. Absolutely. Yeah. Our colors, from the different ways we now braiding hearts and stars in our head and butterflies in our head. As far as locks, I have women who get these beautiful, like, I think they're called like a flower bun, where it looks like flower petals in your hair. Like, we are so creative in the hair game. It's crazy. Right. I see people getting knotless braids with like a bandana included in it. Like, it's literally a bandana braided in your hair. And it's so cute for young girls. Like, when it comes to us in the culture, when it comes to hair, can't nobody touch us. I don't care who it is. You can't hold a candle or a match to us at all. But it comes with a lot of things. I just want, especially Black men, to be mindful when you speak. I see it on social media a lot. When you speak about Black women and our hair, it can be a sensitive subject. Someone, they wish that they could have a certain hairstyle, but they may be going bald up at the top or on the sides. It may be she got to wear that straight because it hides her spots that she don't have any edges or in the back. Like, it's a lot that goes into a woman's hair. It can make it feel. I know after I get my hair done, give me a sew-in or some braids, some long braids too. Oh, I got a new attitude. I'm definitely a brand new person.
Hey, look.
You get your retweet.
Iman, I'm right there with you. When I get my locks done, man, you can't tell me. I go Kanye West on them.
As you should.
As you should. Now, I don't say some of the crazy stuff, but you know what I mean? My confidence is there. Like, yo, you can't tell me nothing, son. And then, I get offended. If a woman looks at me or if a man looks at me and looking at me, like, please, you just mad because you don't got my hair.
You mad because your hair ain't greased properly. Your hair's on me. And it's all about how a woman feels. Like, it's all about how she feels. And then for those who do want to relax their hair, Farajii, the countless things women have to do, from being a mom, some stay-at-home moms and work from home. The children are working, going to school virtually. She still has to work and worry about the house chores and things like that. So having to deal with your hair for an entire day is a lot. So if women do want to relax it, even just for the convenience, I get it. I understand. In the summertime, I only wear braids because if my hair sweats, I look like I got a helmet on my head. But in the winter, I can wear my natural hair out because I can deal with the weather. So it's a lot of variables to it. But I just really want us to be mindful about speaking about Black women's hair, because for some it may not be a big deal, but to others, that's a lot. It says a lot.
It says a whole lot. And I think that again, we got to go back to, because I feel like this is so important. When you're talking about, one, the male gaze, how men look at women and how men try, like women, you're already are kind of already in a mix of being told who you should be, how your body should be shaped, what your skin, what's the best looking skin tone. I mean, y'all going through all of this. And the last thing that you need is a Black man who may not even cut his own damn hair.
Don't
Who
gotta
may not
have
even keep himself up, telling you how to wear your hair. You know what I'm saying? Like, say some things, brothers, we just keep our mouth shut on. Like, if you don't like the woman in your life, you don't like her hairstyle, you know what I mean? Like, don't, there's a way to say it, but think before you say it. There's a way. But guess what? You gotta, but here's something I gotta keep in mind too, right? Like, and I mean, this is just like good relationship things. Like, if you don't like what your partner, like how your partner is looking, you can encourage your partner in a space from a spirit of positivity. You know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, you gotta give your partner, your significant other, the space to be themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the best thing. Like, you gotta give them the space for their personal expression. Because unlike for men, women's hair changes all the time. Y'all go through different hairstyles, different phases, different moods, different things. So, you know, you may not like it right now, but in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to be something different.
Yeah.
It's going to be something different.
I would say we definitely go through a change. Every change. It depends on how we feel. And
that's what it is. Because we get the same damn haircut.
Yup. A temp fade.
We get the same damn haircut. It's the same joint around the beard. Please.
We can a little bit. Different colors, different flavors. And another thing about it, especially the women that wear wigs, I wish I could get into wigs. It's just the maintenance of it that I just don't want to deal with for myself. But it's just the way a woman feels with a middle part, long, straight black hair, or how she may feel when her blunt cut bob with the curls give her a different attitude. Like, I don't want us to make it seem like hair is not a big deal, when in fact it is. I know, God forbid, if I were to lose my hair, I know I would struggle with that. I know that personally. Now, I'd be happy I can go ahead and get some wigs, and I worry about having to make sure my hair blends in with it. But it's a big deal to us, and it's not just it's just hair. It's not. And let's talk about this. Chris Rock got smacked for making fun of Jada Pinkett Smith's hair situation. So it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal.
And
hey, look, let me just share with folks are saying. And let me just point out somebody. Fetus Buddha. You said, I never ever heard a black man say, damn, look at her relaxed hair. Y'all need to stop.
Now,
I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'm gonna end it out. Go ahead. You never heard a black man say, damn, look at her relaxed hair.
I've seen men personally respond to, I witnessed it from my friends and myself, respond to your hair being done or being changed. I've had men, I get way more compliments about having soft locks, like the natural looking locks, rather than a relaxed hairstyle, traditional straight hairstyle. But there are men who pay attention to those kind of things. There are men who prefer women to have natural hair, or prefer women to have the hair curly or any other type of state. But I will say, that's not true for all black men.
That's not true.
Pay attention.
That's not true. I pay attention. That's not true. We don't say the term, I want a woman with relaxed hair. We say, oh, look at this. First and foremost, let's keep this real, folks. Let's just keep this real. I personally like when Nira switches it all up. It gives me something to look for. Oh, she wearing this today. Oh, look at the hair. Like, it's different, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. I personally like that. But men, we do say certain things.
Absolutely.
We say it. Now, you said, oh, Fetus Buddha. You might say, no, I never heard that. Trust and believe, do say some wrong stuff out of their necks about a way a woman looks. I want a woman with the hair down to her back. Well, how do you think she got the hair down to her back, bro? Because if her hair is coily, if it's curly, that thing ain't flowing down to the back.
Without it being straightened, shrinkage is real. When I say I've had women who hair come to the middle of their back because it's curly or I just washed it, it's like to her neck.
Yeah.
Shrinkage is real. So yeah, that guys out here who won't date a woman with a natural fro or starter locks and things like that. Oh, it's men out here that say something.
Oh, all the time. All the time. And again, how you going to impose that on somebody, especially if you're not in a married situation? You dating somebody for a little bit, right? And they impose certain beauty standards on you. And me and Neil, we always talk about this. Dudes become walking around looking rough and buff and dusty and ugly. You feel what I'm saying? Nails not done, looking like they need moisture from the sun, moon, and the stars. I mean, they just looking, and I mean, we dudes, we always think, we wear our clothes don't fit the bodies type that we have. And we expect as men, and this is a pet peeve of mine, we can't expect a woman to be fine and all, she got everything tight. And we come to the table. Not well kept. The body is out of shape. The hygiene is off, right? You don't clean your damn nails. I'm talking about hand and toes, bro. Hand and toes. Like, we want all of this stuff in a woman, but then we come to the table. And I mean, this is manhood training. This is manhood training 101. Like, you don't come to the table expecting a woman to be a certain way when you don't even meet the standards. This is manhood training. Don't you, and I'm gonna teach my son, like, don't you impose that on your daddy, she gotta be this. Wait a minute, man, what's up? I see your shirt got stains on it. Mm-hmm. Your shoes looking all dusty. Your face don't look like you just threw your face in some flour just yesterday. I mean, come on, man. Come on. We gotta stop doing this, man. We gotta stop doing this.
Y'all have a beauty standard as well. Even though if y'all don't see it or acknowledge it, y'all have a beauty standard. Some men need to get
no. Let me tell you, trust and believe. Trust and believe. Like, I'm one of those type of guys, and I know my older brothers, y'all can appreciate this. You get a skincare kit. You get that skincare kit. You get that hair care kit, right? You start putting stuff on your face and on your body. You putting on some good smell goods. I mean, that's the type of guy that I am. That's the type of guy that I grew up around. I didn't grow up around men who didn't know how to present themselves in a certain way, right? Because when we come into the table, you're going to get the authentic, smell good, good smelling black man. You ain't going to get no, nah, buddy. You know what I'm saying? When my hand's not a certain place, I feel out of place. When my body's not right, I feel out of place. Oh man, we play these games, and I think it's to our detriment because we trying to get, again, we're looking at it from our gaze, but it's not fair on the woman.
Absolutely.
All right, let me go back to, I know some people got some problems with that. I know people got problems with that, Iman, but you know what? It's the culture. This is what we do. I want to take some more. Let me just see this. All right, Karen, you said, look, I wear all the hairstyles except relaxers and receive compliments from all men. My braids always receive the most compliments. There it is. Yep, there it is. Mike V, my guy, you checked in. Good to hear from you, Mike. You said you can't fully embrace African beauty under colonialism.
This is what I've been stressing. Colonialism. Okay, they may have come in and imposed as far as hair discrimination, which is still something that's happening. Children have to, I can't forget the child's name, but he had locks and he had a wrestling match. And they told him, oh, he has to get rid of the locks or he has to disqualify himself from the match. So he cut his locks at his match so he wouldn't be disqualified. So I can understand the colonialism portion of, having relaxed hair. It looks more poised according to the American standard. But we have to take ourselves out of that American standard mindset. I feel as though, as far as Black women in our community, we are past that. We are beyond that. I understand it though, but we past that though.
It is. We are past that. Sandy said under 25-year-olds might not know what an iron is.
A flat iron?
It might be a clothes iron.
Is she talking about a flat iron?
Hey, it could be the flat iron, it could be the clothes iron. It could be the flat iron, it could be the clothes iron.
Yeah, if you put your clothes in the dryer on perm or press, one of those, it'll get all the wrinkles out. It don't.
Right.
It
right.
Don't.
Absolutely. 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 So at this point, Iman, as we look at this situation, right? Like this is a ebbs and flows. This is this styles change, standards of beauty change. What would you recommend as a woman that deals in the hair care industry, as a stylist, as a hair care specialist? Like what is the best way for us to look at the standards of beauty right now? Because I see women from everything from straight hair, see women everything from different color hair. I see women wear hairs in various styles. What should we learn about this? That should we be patient? Should we embrace certain things? What should we do?
Embrace everyone's ability to express themselves however they want. A woman isn't less of a woman or less of a black woman because she wants to have straighter hair. I'm not more of a black woman or connected to my African roots because I don't want to relax her. Let's not do that. There's no need to divide. We're already divided more than what we need to be. Just allow others to express themselves however they want to. If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. If you don't want a woman that has straight hair, then don't date a woman that has straight hair. Like let's not divide ourselves even more unnecessarily because it's so unnecessary.
It really is unnecessary. And I know people take it too far, man. People take it too far. L. Duncan, you said my wife has fully straight blonde hair and it's all natural. It has nothing to do with colonialism. You want to be pro-black nationalist. You want to be pro-black nationalists are hilarious. Whatever.
I agree. I agree with that because blonde hair. That's enough.
Like that's your right. That's you. You find her to be beautiful and attractive for what she has. That's fine. But you can't say that it's not colonial. Come on, man. We all been injected with having European standards of beauty.
Right. However, though, Farajii, having blonde hair does not have to be a colonialism type of thing. Blonde hair, for some reason, a lot of people think, oh, that's from white people. No, the black woman has every possible genotype and phenotype there is. Meaning, I can create a brown child with natural blonde hair and blue eyes. There are these people called Melanesians. They are chocolate-like. Well, I may not be as chocolate, but they are brown. Some of them are darker than me that have really curly, beautiful, bright blonde hair. So it's not something that comes from white women. It's just something we see white women do more often than us. But we are the originators of all possible colors. The gingers, that's us. Brown hair, black hair. We just get the black and brown more often. But we hold the keys. If I want blonde hair, I can have blonde hair because that's who created the blonde hair naturally. What's in me, what's in my DNA. So let's leave that blonde hair white woman association. Leave that alone because that's
so. L. Duncan responded by saying that his wife is black. She was born with her hair, and it's not about colonialism. Also said my daughters have the same blonde hair. Okay, if it's a natural situation, then this doesn't apply to you.
But even if you want to color your hair blonde, what's the problem? Why do we have to associate blonde hair with wanting to be closer to being or looking like a white woman?
I understand that because white people have blonde hair, right? So we're still contending with the fact that that's a huge standard of beauty. Like whether it's consciously or unconsciously, like we're still seeing that. The white woman has been placed in front of our eyes for years, right?
Yeah.
As being, and even light-skinned black women are represented in magazines and in print media as being close to white. I remember seeing, pictures of Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez. These are ethnic women, But when you see them in pictures, they're airbrushed so light to the point they almost look white. You know what I'm saying? And so we're still contending with that. And colorism is a huge problem in the Black community. We've been talking about it, but it's still a huge problem. There's still the dark skin versus the light skin and all of that madness, right? Like, oh, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, and I like them red. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all of this stuff that really has nothing to do with the heart, mind, and spirit of an individual. And let's keep it real. We didn't give ourselves the tint, the color of our skin. We didn't make ourselves. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like and there are a number of Black people, Black celebrities that have gone to great lengths to lighten their skin and all of that. And I'm just using this as an example of the standards of beauty that has been imposed on, or how it has been detrimental to us, not just in the hair care space, but just in general. It's been detrimental to us. So if you got people that push back on that, if people don't want to deal with that, or it is what it is. Nobody's trying to make fun of anybody, but we got to say it for what it is. We got to say it for what it is. All right, so Iman, what's your final take on that as we move forward?
If you're going to get a relaxer, I recommend getting a no-lie relaxer. No-lie relaxer.
Okay.
Is a chemical that is used to unclog drains. Think of your scalp as regular skin. Your scalp has pores. Your scalp has pores. So just be mindful of what kind of chemicals you're putting on your scalp, how often you're putting it on your scalp, and just keep your men's keep trimmed, get your hair moisturized. But if you're going to do a relaxer, I recommend a no-lie relaxer, because that is a very harsh chemical that increases your risk of breast cancer by 30%. I'm not saying you're going to get breast cancer. However, relaxers do those chemicals that seep into your pores, because your scalp has pores. It can be detrimental.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about Nicki Minaj and feminism in college, how one college is looking to include the rapper as part of their curriculum to discuss the role of women in the feminist movement and in the society. We'll bring you up to speed on that. And I got something for you for Trends, Posts, and Doing the Most. So stay with us for the final few minutes of the culture here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Would you like to go to a college and you saw that they were offering a class where Nicki Minaj was serving as the center of the discussion around feminism? Well, that is the case that's going to be happening for the University of California, Berkeley students, where the class titled Nicki Minaj, the Black Barbie FemC and Hip Hop Feminism will be offered to students during the spring 2023 semester. Take a look for this, folks. According to Huffington Post, this is going to be a 90-minute class that will be available on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Take a look here. Dr. Peace and Love L. Henson, who is a Berkeley postdoctoral fellow, posted news about the course Thursday to her Twitter page, and Nicki herself saw the post and expressed interest in attending by posting, "I love to stop by." Now, Henson also said the class will offer a deep examination of the Super Freaky Girl rapper in the context of broader historical social structures and hip-hop feminism. The Minaj course will start on January 17th and end May the 5th. Iman, would you go to that class? Why are you laughing like that?
I want to speak positively about my Black sister.
So, wait a minute, you wouldn't go to the class? You wouldn't have no interest in the class?
Not really. Not interested. Not interested.
Do you know why? Because you're a Megan Thee Stallion fan. That's why. That's exactly why. Tell the truth. You are a hot girl and you're not a Barb. That's what it is. That's what it is. I don't have
no problem against the Barbs. No problem. No, look, no smoke over here. But you know, it doesn't. I want to see the connection. That's what made me interested in the class. Like, how are you to, tie Nicki Minaj and then take this broad umbrella of feminism? Like, how you gonna connect the two? I
can see that. No, I can really see that. Now, here's why. Because if you study Nicki's career, which has been, when you really look at it in the big scheme of things, I mean, I know we got new MCs like Glorilla, we got Megan, we got Cardi, we got other female MCs. But when you look at Nicki Minaj's catalog and the impact that she has made, right? Mm-hmm. She is solidified as one of hip hop's greatest MCs, as well as one of the top, I would say the top 3 women MCs in hip hop. Top 3 to 5. Okay, say top 5. If you, and I'm saying that because I'm not just talking about content. When she first dropped, I remember Pink Friday first dropped. If you listen to it, and I've listened to this album many times, there are very to little no references to her sexuality on the album. Mm-hmm. It really talks about her skills. It really talks about the very, her kind of getting to a place where she can be heard and seen and all of those things. But I can understand, because Nicki has brought a different level. I think every woman MC is going to be examined. In the next few years, I wouldn't be surprised if Cardi is the subject of a conversation around feminism, or Megan's the subject of a conversation around feminism. Like each MC, there have been discussions about Lauryn Hill. women in hip hop is still an anomaly, even though we know that they are there, but their impact. And Nicki has had such an impact on the culture.
That's true. That is true. Even from her mixtapes, Beam Me Up Scotty, I think that came out in like 2007. The one that really got her on was Beam Me Up Scotty. That's what really I believe that song with Soulja Boy sample. I forget what it's called. That's what really got that look. And then when she featured on Monster with Kanye and
Kanye, Rick Ross, Jay-Z, it's like, well, see, the thing is, and I think that this is very interesting, like women MCs, women rappers, they have a whole, like you got the hotties, you got the barbs. You don't think about that. Like for male MCs, there's no name of the fans of these men MCs.
Yeah.
But I think that it speaks volumes about the impact that women have on the industry, because really, and I know that a lot of sisters you may not admit this to yourself, but a lot of Black women, I'm not talking about the little girls, I'm talking about grown ass women are influenced by Nicki, Cardi, Meg. That's a big influence. I see it.
Let's even speak about the BBL movement. That kind of came from female MCs. Not to say that's the root cause. However, that image of big chest, tiny, non-existent waist, and just real big, dumb, wide hips in the behind, that became the standard of what was attractive to men. So that's when the whole I got to get my glute workout in, and I got to have these resistant bands around my hips so I can, grow my butt out. Like it's that did influence Black women. I would definitely say that. I will say that.
I think so. I think so. And look, and here's the question I know Conscious thought you posted, but how does this class free us? In my Professor Karen Hunter voice. And big shout out to Professor Karen Hunter. You can see her with Dr. Carr as they have those cultural conversations. How does the class free us? I don't know if it's I don't know. It depends on how the professors present her role. You know what I mean?
Right.
I couldn't tell you that. But I don't think that we could exclude certain women. If we're going to talk about feminism, right, we can't exclude powerful Black women who have created an impact, who have a voice, who have used their platform, right, in various ways to kind of push certain things that are important to women to the next level. I think we do ourselves a disservice with, even though our personal preference may not be that woman's artistry. We can't just say, well, she doesn't, therefore we should not include her into the conversation. You got to include all these sisters into the conversation.
Right. And definitely Nicki Minaj, though, I do agree, because she held it down on her own for so long. She was the only mainstream female rapper
for a minute.
Very long time.
For a minute, right? I mean, like you had Lil' Kim, right? Mm-hmm. Then Lil' Kim had and it's crazy when I hear that you got these women MCs, these women artists beefing with one another. It's only like 5 of y'all. you trying to be the queen of, and I mean, I get it, but then it's like, yo, it's 5 of y'all. If y'all jumped on the track together, oh my gosh. Just like that would be crazy if Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Glorilla, you got Rhapsody, you got my sister Mamuna Youssef. I mean, you got all these different voices and all these different variations of Black womanhood on the same track.
That's nice.
But that would be killing the game.
Yeah.
That would be killing the game. But I mean, again, these women represent some element of womanhood of Black women, right? Like, you have Nicki has always, and this is what I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm saying it to you and saying that to our culture crew. I've always seen Nicki as being the type of woman who want to be respected for her gift, her artistry.
Right.
More so than her sexuality.
Right. Because in her interviews and things as such, she definitely makes sure she's expressed who she is as Nicki Minaj, the artist, and not just Nicki Minaj, just a healthy, light-skinned looking female who's
sex
beautiful.
Toy. Right, exactly. Right. She doesn't want to be a sex toy. She wants you to know, like, I can come into the space and I can destroy any of them in the sea. And she's gone with the best of them. She's been on tracks with the best of them, and she's always brought it, right? And I think that there needs to be a conversation about that, because as much as we in this space, and some of us, we could be so conscious to a fault, right? Like the reality is, for years, Black girls were looking up to Nicki Minaj. They may not be looking up to her as much right now because of other women in the space, but for years, she was the standard of womanhood to young Black girls. Outside of the booth, you didn't hear, and this is the other part I would give her credit for, you didn't hear too much about her exploits where, she was with one dude one day, another dude the next day. She was with that one dude, Safari, for 10 years.
I still don't understand that, but
She went with Meek Mill. Then she got married. I mean, she was with I think her current husband, after that. But she wasn't, as far, and again, correct me if I'm wrong.
She was not an industry hoe.
She was not. Now, if we were to look at Taylor Swift and how Taylor Swift is considered and regarded as one of the most popular voices in pop music and in countries, and in some cases country, but is considered to be one of the most successful. But Taylor Swift has gone out with a lot of dudes, but they don't put her in the same space as being passed around. They don't say certain things about her. She, it's kind of like some murmurings, but it's not in the same way. If a Black woman is put in that space, then she gets dragged through the ground. She gets dragged. We know that. So there's that double standard. But that's what I'm saying. Like they Black women, y'all got to take it a little bit. Y'all have to, especially in music and entertainment, y'all have to be very careful about even just those personal relationships, because they can work against you. So I can see why they have that type of situation. You know what I mean? Like we got to look at it. Because y'all, they're influential, very, very influential. But you wouldn't take the class?
No.
Okay.
I have no interest in learning why Nicki Minaj is such this pioneer for feminism. Now, in the rap game, absolutely. Hip hop, absolutely. She definitely was that in that one area. But beyond that, feminism is way too big to me to associate it just with Nicki Minaj. So we're going to be specific and say, well, Nicki Minaj was a feminist for hip hop. Okay, cool. Let's do that. But like a feminist in general, I don't see the connection. No.
Right. Somebody, who was it? Brother King Lee, you said Sister Remy Ma spent time in prison and came out stronger music-wise.
She did, but not on Nicki level. Not on Nicki level. She did. She's still out there performing, but just not on Nicki level, no. Not on Nicki level. I'm sorry. Like Nicki reigned for like 10 years, y'all. I mean, Very true.
Like 10 years. As a woman MC, that's a long time for a woman MC. You know what I'm saying? And like even now, she can still get on the track and still. Right now, she got that single out that I don't think is good, but just the fact of she like I said, she can go pound for pound with the best of them.
And she's still trending. That song you're talking about, I think it's called
Freaky Girl.
Yeah. It's trending on TikTok and Instagram right now.
The crazy thing about women, and I think for even men, that once you get to a certain age, once you start living a certain different way than what you originally started, then you live differently than how you were when you first came into the game. Your music should reflect that. And I get it. There's still, and again, part of the feminism movement, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of feminism is there's this sexual liberation element to the movement, right? That women can express themselves sexually, that they can take ownership of their bodies, that they can to feel like they shouldn't be ashamed that they are going after pleasure. And I think that right there is something that needs to be examined. You know what I'm saying? Because, and this is a whole different conversation, Iman, and I would love to, we may have to have this, but the conversation around women's, being so confined by other men's standard of pleasure, beauty, that women are felt to have to feel ashamed about even wanting to be pleased sexually. because it's still based on another man, being still rooted in how a man wants them to be. You know what I mean? It's a deeper conversation. But when you're talking about these feminist elements, I can understand it. But that's maybe where's the space that she's in right now. She's like, all right, I'm a wife now, I'm a mom now, but I'm still that chick. I mean,
with my husband now, though.
Right.
Now.
Right. See, like again, she's never been the one that's like go from do to do. I remember Drake used to talk about Nicki on every other damn song how he wanted to be with her. He'd be like, "Damn, Drake, okay, bro." But guess what?
First 10 years.
Guess what? She never did it.
Yeah. And I thought they were at least gonna try at least once. I mean, publicly try at least once.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. So I can definitely get it. So there it is, folks. University of California, Berkeley will be having that conversation in that course about Nicki Minaj. All right, very quickly as we wrap up, I want to kind of get to this piece. This is something that's trending right now that I see. Two things, and I don't know if I really can go into these two things because one of them is really, really sad. But 50 Cent and his son Marquise are beefing right now. Have you seen this, Iman? Marquise is claiming that pretty much that 50 is a terrible dad. And as a result of that, he wants 50 to spend, he said he would spend his child support money that 50 gives him, $6,700 a month, folks, $6,700. He says to 50 that that's not enough money. $6,700 a month. He said that's not enough money.
People barely making $3,000 a month, and that's an adult.
$6,700.
For his son's perspective, he could be saying it as though, like, money isn't enough. What about your time and teaching?
What about your time? That's what he's saying. Definitely.
It could be a time thing, yeah.
It could definitely be a time thing.
His older son had the same issue as well. So this isn't the first time we've heard about this about 50 Cent. This is not the first time.
It is crazy. It is crazy to see this. And 50 Cent is super petty because in response to this, to his son putting this out there on social media and in the public, 50 Cent just created posted a scene from Power where his character Kanan shoots and kills his son for betraying him. There's no caption. We all know what it was directed at, but with no caption. It's like
we know how
this relationship between a father and son is so toxic. It's like it's sad. That's why I said this is very, very sad. But it's such a toxic situation. Like, and when we look at 50 Cent and looking at how he moves, sometimes like you be like, oh man, he's a businessman. He's doing this. He's doing that. But then when it gets to him being a dad, it's like, damn, bro. Then these are your sons.
Yeah.
These are your sons. Your son carries your legacy. And I just couldn't imagine. I don't care what kind of issue I got with the mother. That's your son.
Right.
I just couldn't imagine. I'm gonna be honest, like folks, I couldn't imagine. Like whatever, regardless of the relationship I got with my son's mom, I'm not gonna ostracize, just completely push my son to the side. That's like throwing him into the wolves. You know what I'm saying? That's the sad part about it. It's like, bro, 50, you can step up. Like, I don't know all, of course we don't know all the ins and outs, but at the end of the day, do you reject your son?
Yeah. Like the first to go around. I wish he wouldn't have responded in that way though. Like that.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Like he's responding like, I mean, sometimes 50 do things that are just simply petty, but just some parts, like, you don't want to put that out there that you would go as far as to kill your own son.
And
I mean, that was in the show.
Even if we didn't take that part literal, but just the fact that you intended to send some type of message in that area of violence, like against your own child, like this, you're not beefing with Kane. This not Tony Yayo or nothing. This is your child.
Right. This is
I had an issue as well.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. So I hope that some reconciliation happens. All right, folks, for the final piece, for trends. It's 30 days out, Iman. We're 30 days out. Hey, Keenan, show the folks what we're 30 days out from. Can you show that tweet to we locking on those pictures? Because this is going to be a massive situation in 30 days. November 11th, folks. You know, the whole world might. We are going back to Wakanda, folks. We are going back to Wakanda.
Farajii, you know I am.
We are going back to Wakanda in 30 days, folks. Look at this right here. All right, so Marvel put out, of course, you know, I showed you guys the trailer for this, but I want Keenan. Let's show them the tweet.
Right now? I can't look.
No, let's show them the tweet that Marvel put out.
Show the tweet.
As a result of the women of Wakanda doing a photo shoot of Elle magazine. Let's show. I want to show them that images because that is a powerful situation.
Y'all don't want me to see
Again, this is the year of the woman, folks. Black women, y'all are so powerful, right? And y'all moving in a lot of different spaces. But Elle magazine did a photo shoot with the women of Wakanda, highlighting the very sisters, Letitia Wright, Denai Guerin, and there it is. Look at this. This is it, y'all. Letitia Wright right there. Look at this. Lupita Nyong'o, Black Panther. Look at it. Woo!
That's a sharp cut right there. They look gorgeous. Chocolate.
On Elle magazine. Real quick as we wrap up, but I want to get your take on this, Iman. How big is this for Elle magazine to show the beauty of these women as this movie is going to be dropping in 30 days? How big is this?
Not even just them being Black women, they are dark-skinned Black women. That says a lot. They're not close to light or close to white. They are chocolate Black women. And to be able to acknowledge them in even though we know Wakanda isn't an actual place, but just what it represents as far as those Black women being strong and standing up for something is beautiful. It's we moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. So Wakanda, of course, is looking at the rise of how did they termed it? The women rise. And that's going to be the big storyline for Wakanda Forever, as Black Panther 2 is going to be hitting theaters in 30 days, November the 11th. We're going to go back to Wakanda. Are you excited to see the film?
We are wearing all white.
You wearing all white?
The Black Congress said that we will go to the homegoing service of T'Challa. We are wearing all white. After Labor Day, we're wearing all white. Wakanda Forever. Farajii, when I say my outfit, you ain't ready. You ain't ready. I'm gonna show up and show out. Trust me.
For real, you got a whole outfit.
I have Kamoyo beads. Oh, I'm a big Black Panther fan. I have the pop dolls. I have the Wakanda Files book. I have Black Panther t-shirts, Black Panther jackets. Oh, I'm a big Black Panther fan. Oh, this is serious for me. I'm going home.
Are you going the first day or you or what? How you doing? When are you going?
Farajii, row G, seat A. I will be in Columbia at the IMAX theater, front and center, with my all white on. I'm probably gonna cry the entire movie, and it's okay.
You gonna do any type of face paint?
Now that you say something, take it up a notch. I might take it up a notch. I might. Ain't no telling. But I'm excited. Sad, but I'm excited.
Hey yo, you might gonna come back in November with T'Challa on the neck. Tattooed right here. Right.
Yes, that's my God. That is my God.
Be like Wakanda. Be like, yo, what's that say on your neck, man? Be like Wakanda forever.
May Chadwick Boseman rest in peace. Such a
may he rest in peace, power, and prosperity, man. I'm telling you, he left a legacy with this one.
And that's
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still a little salty. They talking about not replacing him, and I think you know we're going to see it, but I'm still a little salty. I don't think they should have killed off the character, but I'm definitely going to see it. I'm definitely going to see it. But, you know, it's exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see how Black folks take this, especially in this cultural moment. I mean, Black Panther drop was it 2018?
Yep, February
2018. So that's talking about 4 years ago. Look how different the country is culturally. Look at where we are as a people and as a community in this country, as a nation in this country. Like look at where we are. So the same type of buzz, I wonder if it's going to be the same type of energy, the same type of buzz that we had back in 2018. It's going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. And since this is going to be focused on the women, it's going to be interesting how Black women are going to respond to this film. So I'm you know, and just much as we saw Black girls, I saw them TikTok videos of Black girls watching our sister Haley Bailey being Ariel. I wonder if that's going to be the case for Black Panther.
If Shuri is Black Panther, it's ain't no telling.
I wonder, and if Shuri is Black Panther, I wonder if that's going to be the same thing. Are we going to see the same? Because if y'all can see yourselves as mermaids, y'all can definitely see yourselves as saving the world.
Don't give me a Black Panther mask. Don't give me a Black Panther mask. Farajii, I ain't gonna know how to act come Halloween, okay?
Iman, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's always good to connect with you on Tuesdays. Thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you so much, y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for tuning in for today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversations. Again, check out the replays of the first hour. Check out the second hour. We had some very, very good conversation, powerful discussions with our guest, Professor Hernandez. Thank you so much for your time. We thank you. Appreciate that. Christina Olivo, thank you so much. So powerful Black women are doing some fantastic work all across this country. Big shout out to our sisters. Big shout out to the sisters. All right, make sure y'all stay tuned. Roland Martin Unfiltered is at 6:00 p.m. Make sure y'all continue to support us here at Black Star Network. We definitely need your support. I want to thank my fantastic behind the scenes team, my man Joel, my man King Keenan, Ariel, my control room. And again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Make sure y'all follow me on all social media platforms at The Real Farajii on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter, Farajii Muhammad on Facebook. I love to connect with you, and I certainly will follow you back. Thank you, folks. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.